Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Kyle here, and I'm going to be discussing with you because I've been getting this question a lot. What are things that you can do at home to help your child level up mentally? And I'm going to be sharing that with you here momentarily. And the first step to this is the 4 steps to develop your player's internal drive and responsibility to perform. And I'm going to show you how momentarily. I just want to make sure this is all working correctly, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm working by myself right now. So I'm just checking to make sure you guys can all hear me, right? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, please. And I'm going to show you how you can help your player in 4 simple steps to develop your player's internal drive and responsibility to perform. So if you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up in the chat. So if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Okay, fantastic. So we're going to be walking through here the 4 steps to develop your player's internal drive and responsibility to perform. That's what we're looking at right now and how we can do this. Because I've been receiving a lot of questions. For example, my player seems to be a good technical player but struggles to perform in the game. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that right now in 4 simple steps. And it's very, very easy. Okay? So let's jump into it right now. So the first one, and it's going to sound kind of funny. There's 4 main things you can do right now that you can help your child level up with. So many of them are going to have practice. It's Tuesday night. Okay? A lot of them are going to have practice. It's Tuesday night. And here's the first thing you can do. Equipment. So when I'm talking about equipment, I'm talking about cleats, shin guards, their training gear. So the shirt, the shorts, the socks, whatever else they need to go to practice. Maybe it's a ball. They take care of it. Not mom and dad. The player takes care of it. Okay, so they take care of their equipment. This goes in hand with their bag. This means they got to get their bag ready and put everything in. Now here's a pro tip. If you want to make sure that your child is doing it correctly, especially if it's like their first or second time doing it, mom and dad can do this, and I'll put it in red, can verify the bag. So you can verify if little Johnny put everything they need to in the bag. So they can check for the equipment, the cleats, the socks, the shin guards, the ball, whatever. Right? You can check that. Okay? Third thing, water. They need to prepare their water bottle. Whatever they're drinking for the day, even if it's a Gatorade or a Powerade or whatever they're going to be drinking, they need to prepare that. And they need to go get it and bring it with their equipment. And then if you want mom and dad, the pro tip, you can verify it. So pro tip, you can go ahead and verify this. So I'm going to put this here in pro tip. All right, as we go through this. And you can verify. So like, let's say I got my bag right here as the example. Right, here's my bag. So I would bring it, if I was my child, right? I would bring with all the stuff in and be like, hey, mom and dad, double check this for me. So they go do the work. They bring it to you before you walk out the door. They go bring it to you before you walk out the door, and you check the bag and make sure, okay, we got our cleats, we got the shin guards, we got our water, we got whatever. Great, it's all here. Well, it's ready to rock. Okay, and that way we're good to go. Okay, next step. The final one, I think this is probably the most important, is, ladies, no podgy. Is if they have practice, so let's say practice, like for us, we start at 6 o'clock. If you know, typically, that it takes you, as a parent, an hour to travel, or let's just say 30 minutes. So let's say you need to leave by 5:15 to get there by 5:45. You can put that responsibility on your child to come to you at, say, 5 o'clock. Hey, they all have iPads or phones or watches or whatever. They can see it inside the house. They need to know that they need to come to you at 5 o'clock because you need to leave by 5:15. So they would come to you, little Johnny would come to me and say, hey, Dad, I want to go to practice because I need to get there by 5:45 so I can start doing my thing. Cool, we need to leave at 5:15. So between 5 and 5:15, they're getting their stuff ready, and then they're traveling out with you after verifying, and then we're on the road. Boom. And that's your 4th tip here. Time. They need to go ahead and put all of those details together to make sure that they do these 4 things, these 4 actions, right? Equipment, bag, water, time. So hopefully that makes sense. I have a couple more things I'm going to show you here real quickly, but I want you guys to look at this and think about it. But these are the 4 main things that you can do. Equipment, they put their stuff together. They make sure they put it in the bag. They go get their water together. And then they tell you, again, if you got to be at practice, if it takes you 30 minutes to get to practice, you need to leave by 5:15 to get there by 5:45. They got to come to you and say, hey, Mom, it's time to go, or Dad, it's time to go because it's 5 o'clock. Let me get my stuff together. Boom, we're on the road. All right, and those are 4 things you can do. Okay, so very important. Let me move this again. Now, I'm going to give you another pro tip. This is another one because parents ask me like, again, okay, so we're doing this. Awesome. How do I help them level up more? Great question. Here's a great idea. Another pro tip for you, which I'm going to highlight. I'm going to make it blue here. Pro tip. Okay? Let your child walk into and out of practice on their own. So you'll see a lot of times, and I've seen this hundreds of times because I deal with this. This is almost my 10th year doing it, is parents will walk into practice and out of practice with their child. So as long as the environment is safe, right, there's no main issues of security or safety, then implement this strategy where, for example, I drive up to the lot, to a safe place where I can let the child out, let my son out, and then I'm like, okay, I'll be in shortly, have fun. Boom, he's now got to walk in on his own in a whole environment where mom and dad are no longer there to help him or her. So in the case of my son, little Johnny. Okay, and then, same thing, let's say I know practice ends at 7:30, I'm going to walk out at 7:25 as the parent, and obviously I'll let the kid know, hey, come find me at the end of practice, I'll be in the car. Boom, maybe I got to go pull up my car to a place, whatever it is, but come find me. Maybe I'm outside the car, hand waving, whatever it is. But then you're putting that responsibility on them. That's so important because remember, this is little Johnny's dream, not my dream. Little Johnny came to me and said, Mom, Dad, I want to play competitive. Well, my responsibility is to try and help prepare them for the realities of what they're going to be facing in that type of environment. So here's how you do that, at least another step. So that would be now step 5 or action 5 that you could take to put responsibility on them to level up. Okay? Now I'll give you another one. Okay? And here's a question that I actually got yesterday from a parent. And they were like, my son struggles to translate what they're doing from training to the game. Well, that's mental. If they're struggling to transfer that, that's mental. So the question I asked was, well, what are they struggling with? 1. And then 2, let's find the solution to that problem. So the thing that we're struggling with is, for example, they go into tackles soft. They don't go in hard. They pull out. They back off. Right? So what that tells me is they don't have the responsibility and understanding that 1, football's a contact sport. 2, you got to play hard and you got to play without saying trying to hurt somebody, but play aggressive. So the key thing with this is, does your child sometimes play afraid? Have them play hours of, and I'll write it here for you, and this is the key thing, I'm going to put it in green for you. I think it's 2 numbers. 1v1, and then put this one in blue. 2v2. Now, my opinion, you need to start with 1v1, and then you translate this to 2v2. And the reason why I'm such a big fan of 1v1 and 2v2, to be quite honest, because if we look at 1v1, so let's put it here in green again, 1v1, and let's transfer. And you've probably seen me post about this before. If you haven't, you're going to see it right now. 100% of the responsibility, right? I don't know if I'm going to spell this correctly. I'm going to do my best. To win or lose. Oops, switch the button, sorry. Lose is on my son. So I'm the biggest believer of 1v1 and what it can do for kids to help them level up mentally, because either they're going to crack and then they're going to, be upset, crying and whatnot, or eventually, sorry, I hit the wrong button again. Eventually they're going to level up, right? And they're going to be like, okay, cool, it's my job. So I was running training this morning. Kid made a mistake. They were playing 2v2s. Kid made a mistake and he started blaming somebody else. And I said, no. And I said, hey, who made the mistake? And he's like, me. And I'm like, so stop blaming anybody else. It's your mistake, not their mistake. Own it. Well, what that tells me is they haven't done enough of this here to learn how to own the mistake. If they haven't done this enough, they can't own the mistake. They have to feel that responsibility to win or lose. Ladies, thank you. No mice. Okay, so they have to feel that responsibility right here to win or lose all day. And that's where 1v1 comes in. So I've just given you now 2 more steps here. So let's tie this all together real quick and then I'll come back. Okay, so let's add this. So now we have, as well, we have 5, which is in and out of practice. Okay, and I hit the dang button again on the pen, of practice. And then the last one, 1v1, and then 2v2. All right, so you now have 6 steps to help them, or 6 actions. So 6 steps or actions to develop your player's internal drive and responsibility to perform. And these are things that I think you can do immediately. Now, let me add this part. So I'm going to put this right here for you on, I think it's this page. There we go, this page. So, understand, parents, I would love to tell you that this is going to happen today. Right? This will not happen today. What will happen is, if you start implementing these strategies, you'll probably start noticing a difference in 1 to 2 weeks, realistically. Right? But you put the responsibility and pressure on them. And then what will happen is this will become a habit in 3 weeks, which means in 30 to 60 days, you should start seeing a completely different kid. Now, I had a parent ask me this, well, I don't feel like my son is performing in the game. And I said, okay, well, let me see your son. I'm watching the kid, and this is where it comes to be completely different. And the kid doesn't have the level yet. So he's not good enough skillfully. So he can't dribble well enough. He can't pass well enough. He can't receive well enough. Well, that's a completely different factor. If the child doesn't have enough skill, you can't expect them to perform. However, you can still put responsibility on them. But if they don't have the skill set yet, you can't expect them to perform. It won't happen. They don't have the level yet. And the scenario I'll give you is like, think about school, right? When kids go to school and they start math, they're going to start learning numbers first. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like I was practicing Spanish. What do you think one of the first things I learned was? Numbers, right? And then you start learning maybe basic math, addition, subtraction. Okay, well now you have 10. What happens if you add 2? Or you could say 1 plus 1 equals, boom. So it's baby steps, right? So we want to get to here. We want to get to the end goal of having the internal drive and responsibility. We're getting there. You've got to take the steps. Take time. However, if the player has a skill and you implement this, you'll see a difference in 1 to 2 weeks. And then 3 weeks, it will become a habit. 30 to 60 days. However, it has to be consistent. If it's consistent, so if your player trains 4 days a week, and by the way, you can do the same thing for the game. Game on Saturday, tournament on Saturday. Here's how to set that up. Run it. Same principle. Apply the same details. Equipment, bag, water, time. So if you know the game is at noon on Saturday, you need to be there an hour before, which means you need to be there at 11. It takes you 30 minutes to get there. That means you need to leave by, let's say, 10:20. Okay, so cool. Between 9:50 and 10:20, child's getting their stuff ready. We verify it. Great. We get out the door. We're in the car. Boom. Problem solved. Okay? So I hope you find tremendous value from this video. If you have, please share this with somebody because I think it can help parents help their child level up, and that is what we're trying to do here. Okay? So without further ado, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.